Good morning. We are so glad to have this opportunity to talk about Excel extensibility. My name is Sudhi, and I'm joined by Riza Ali today. In this session, we'll give a quick introduction about programming with Excel in a way that can help your solutions reach users across multiple endpoints. We'll walk through recent additions and talk about what scenarios we're working on next. And finally, we'll show resources to learn and engage. Well, let's look at the big picture. Excel plays an important role in the overall Office 365 developer platform. It is, of course, one of the Office canvases. It is part of Microsoft Graph's data layer that web and mobile applications can integrate with, and it also supports extensions to run within it. Now, I'm sure many of you are familiar with building solutions with Excel using, say, VBA or VSTO technologies. Those work great and will continue to drive many of your business automation. However, Excel users are accessing applications across different devices and platforms and demanding that the same extensions be made available to them, say, from Excel Online or iPad. So our goal is to give you tools and support to take your solutions to where your users are working. In addition, we want to make it really easy to integrate with Excel over the web to enable new type of web and mobile apps that reads and write data to Excel files located in Office 365 using web development tools and choices. So in order to meet these goals, we offer two modes of modern programming options with Excel. On the left-hand side is the add-ins, which allows a web application to run inside of the canvas. So you develop your add-ins once and test and deploy on all the supported platforms. And you can take advantage of centralized features such as Office Add-in Store and O365 admin deployment. And we offer a JavaScript library known as Office.js to enable this technology. On the right-hand side is the Excel REST APIs available over Microsoft Graph. Now, this allows you to integrate with any Excel files located on SharePoint, OneDrive, OneDrive Consumer, which is coming very soon. It's right now in beta. So any files that are located on these endpoints can now be accessed through Microsoft Graph Endpoint. Now this uses fairly open standards such as REST and JSON and OAuth to be able to integrate your mobile app or web app or any sort of new extensions such as bots to connect into Excel. Now, first, let's look at the API capabilities that we offer. Now, starting with 2016, we started offering Excel namespace-specific JavaScript APIs. And since then, we have done sort of various additions. The APIs provide broad coverage for essential objects such as range, worksheet, tables, and charts. And recently, we added versions 1.5 and 1.6 that add some more advanced concepts such as custom XML paths, condition formatting, and ability to do calculation across range and worksheet. So these are all the features that have existed. Let's look at what's coming up new. So we are hard at work to add new capabilities to the platform. So many of the new APIs shown here have reached sort of the beta public preview stage, which means that with the latest Office build, you can actually start experimenting, start trying out these APIs. The list is long for me to go over all of in this one session. So I'd like to highlight some of the important ones as shown in this slide. So starting with a lot of additions to charting. So we've already had chart APIs, but we're making it much more richer, more formatting APIs. For instance, adding Trendline, setting the chart series or axis unit title setting capabilities. And then we're introducing Excel range styles, which means that you can apply a built-in style or create your own custom style and apply across any different across any other range in the workbook. We've had protection before, but we didn't have the option to do password-based protection. So we're introducing that, and also the workbook protection. To sort of extend more on the customizing of the appearance part, we are adding the freezing of rows and columns, and you can also read the frozen pane properties. And then on the right-hand side, the access to built-in properties and setting the custom properties. So this will allow you to create custom workflows based on property bags that are stored as part of the workbook. And probably one of my favorite one is the data validation. So this will allow you to set the criteria for data input. You can have drop-down menus. You can provide messaging as part of the data entry activity. This is especially useful if you have type of solutions that takes in data input, say in the form of a form. You want a certain set of data entries to be added in a column, so you can kind of control at a range level and add data validation on top of it. The other one is to make the data transfer between the worksheets more efficient. In the past, we've had to copy at a range level, and especially copying the formatting from one worksheet to another worksheet can be painful. To ease that, we're adding the copy worksheet with the data and formatting across the same workbook much more easier with the copy worksheet API. And to make the sort of customization of appearance even more fine-grained, we are introducing the setting of tab color and then also turning off the grid lines on and off. So this will allow you to customize your reports and also highlight the worksheets that you want based on the different coloring scheme. So all of these features are on sort of Excel Online, Excel Desktop on the inside of Fast Builds. And we are working hard on making these features available on Mac and iPad very soon. So these are some of the API capabilities. Next, I want to talk about the new APIs that are in beta pertaining to events. So, as you can imagine, events are really core in making your add in a solution more interactive and kind of aware about what's going on in the workbook, and be more aware of the user inputs. We've had worksheet events before, Excel events before. So those centered around selection change or data change based on the binding, and also settings change events. So those have existed since I think 1.2, 1.3. But those were limited in nature, and we are adding support for a lot more of events. So at the worksheet level, you can now detect activation and deactivation. You can also register for events on worksheet add events. So any worksheet that gets added to the workbook, you can listen in on those. We've had data change events, but those were based on the binding, which means you had to create a binding first and use that as a key to register for the events. And now you can do that in a much more straightforward way by doing adding data change on the worksheet or the table level. You can also do selection change registration on worksheet and table level. So these are all the new worksheets that are, these are all the new events that are in the beta public preview right now. So you can try that out. And they're available on Windows Online, Mac and iPad platforms at this point. These events also support co-authoring scenarios, which means that if an event is raised because of a co-authoring change, you will know based on the parameters that a certain event is propagating from a different host, different client. And we also have more ambitious roadmap for the events. For instance, we're working on after save events, many of the chart-related events, calculation-based events. So send us your feedback if you see anything that you think are needed for your solutions to work, or if you're missing anything important. We'll go over the forums through which you can share your feedback, and then we are eager to hear your feedback, and also we are also eager to have you try out these APIs in your solutions and let us know how it works for you. So in order to kind of encapsulate all of these, and just going to show a demo, I'll switch over to a simple demo that we have created just to highlight how easy it is to integrate these solutions in your these APIs in your solution. And I have an add-in that is created based on Visual Studio tooling. So I'm going to switch over to Excel. So here's a blank workbook that I have, and there is a sales lead add-in. So I'm going to click on this ribbon command button to open up this task pane. So this add-in is created to import and analyze sales opportunity data. So when I click, it opened up a task pane for me, which is essentially a web application running inside of the Excel. It interacts with Excel using the Office.js JavaScript library. And it has few options. As you can see, it allows me to import data from an external source and populate the worksheet. And it also has buttons for me to help analyze. So I'll go one at a time. Now, the purpose of this demo is not to showcase all of the APIs, but to highlight some of the new capabilities that we've introduced. And there are many more as I walked through in the previous slide. But this is just to kind of give you a taste of some of the capabilities these offer and how we can actually use them in your solutions. So now I'm going to click on the import data. So what this is doing is it's going and importing data from an external location and then populating the worksheets. Now, it did a couple of other interesting things, as I would like to point out. One is it populated the data here, and then it created a table on top, and it also adjusted the column width so that I can see the data clearly. In addition, it also it created two data worksheets. So one is the customer record, and the second is the opportunities, the sales opportunities data. Now, the data that I have here can be quite long in nature, so it allows me to scroll and keep the top row intact, so which is the freeze of range rows and columns that I talked earlier. And it also highlighted the worksheet tab. So this is to help differentiate based on your business logic and to kind of help point the users to a certain tab depending on their workflow. And also, so this is great. I'm able to import data, but now I want to kind of analyze more, get more insights into what's happening in this data. So I'm going to click on the Analyze button. So when I click on this button, what it did was that it created a new worksheet. And out here, I have let's see. Yeah, so I have a sales lead data, so sort of two reports that helps me analyze. So one is the sort of sales opportunity data, and then the second is your sort of past sales performance data. And on this worksheet, again, I have a different tab color. And then on the first report that you see here, I have the hyperlink, so which is another API that we've introduced. So this allows me to take me back to the customer record. So this makes the navigation much more simpler. And as you'll notice that I've turned off the grid lines on this entire worksheet. So this helps sort of the visualization a much better experience. And on this initial table, we've used conditional formatting to highlight based on color scale to sort of, highlight the range of data that we have. So the blue being the lower and the red being the higher end of the value. On the right-hand side, we'll see the sales of the last year data. So this is great. We've been able to do that before, but now we can actually add the trend line. So these are some of the additions that we made to sort of help sharpen your add-in reports or data entry or data import scenarios, and also to make the interaction with Excel a much more smoother experience. Now, let's imagine that you're happy with this report and you want to share this with an external partner or email to another client, or just back up this on your storage. Now, we've added, let's see, I can cancel this. We've added a new API to be able to do this. So it looks like Excel ended. I'm going to restart this. So what I was going to show was the ability to download the workbook that we were just looking at, and then able to save or email or to do anything with the actual raw bits. So I'm going to create the data again here, and create the report again for a select salesperson. And so now I have this workbook. The get file API, get file async API now allows you to get the base 64 string of the entire workbook. So this was one of the API requests that we had heard as something that would benefit the community. So we've added the support for this. So just to kind of show what it does, so when I click on it, I get the base 64 encoded version of it. So that is just displayed here, but in real world, you would take that, convert back to Excel, and store it on any drive or email attachment, however you wish to process the actual raw bits of the file. So, so these are just some of the APIs that we have added, and the demo highlighted how we can actually use this. In addition to creating just the APIs, we are also interested in giving you tool sets and locations to actually go try out and discover these APIs. So to kind of highlight those workflows, Risa is going to show some of the new developments that we've been working on. Risa, do you want to share your screen?
Yep, thank you. So Sudhi just showed, made all the announcements about all the API surface area and so forth. What I'd like to share with you now is how can you go about doing this and building a similar Excel add-in back in your organization. So, and one of the engineers on my team, he used a bunch of code snippets that are available in ScriptLab, and he was able to, like Lego blocks, just stack them one on top of the other with minimal changes and assemble that demo that Sudhi just presented within a week and a half. So I'm going to show you how to get access to those snippets. I'm here in Excel. If I go over to the Insert tab, and then I go to Store, it's going to pull up the Office Store, and it's going to list all of the add-ins available. I'm going to search for ScriptLab, and this is a tutorial add-in that you could use to explore the API and make changes and so forth to the existing snippets, or even write your own. So I'm going to go ahead and add that, and it extends the ribbon here with its own ScriptLab ribbon extension. So if I click on that, I'm going to see the custom ribbon here. I'm going to open these two, the code and the run button panes. So while that loads, so the code tab shows you the code that you're working on, and the run pane shows you the UI that you're rendering for the Excel add-in. So I'm going to show the code section first. Within ScriptLab, we have the script, template, style, and libraries tabs here. So script shows you all of the JavaScript code that makes up your add-in. Template shows you all of the HTML that makes up your add-in. Similarly, style shows you all the CSS, and libraries shows you all of the external libraries referenced by this add-in. So if I click on the hamburger, and then click on samples, you'll see a long list of snippets available inside the script lab for you. So we have everything. If I collapse this a little bit, maybe you'll see better the extent of it, of the categories that we have. We have worksheets, tables, named items, charts, pivot tables, events, everything. Right? So some of the stuff that Suli was showing, but actually all of the stuff that Suli was just speaking about is available here under the Preview APIs tab. And I'm going to show you how to keep up with our announcements in the Preview APIs soon. But within Script Lab, if you want to experiment and check out the latest APIs that are coming, this is the section for you. So I'm going to start by showing in that demo that Sudi just showed, he showed the report that was generated, it didn't have grid lines. I'm going to start with that simple example for now. So the snippets are all organized. There are functions that are important, very important, that should demonstrate the API functionality. In this case, show and hide grid lines. We've moved all of the error handling code over to this try catch function. And in one of the other demos I'll show you, we also have a setup function that adds data to the worksheet. In this case, we're just going to show and hide grid lines, so we don't need to show any data. So here inside of hide grid lines, you see we just get the active worksheet and then we set the grid lines to false. Similarly for show grid lines, we also get the sheet and then set the grid lines to true. So if I were to run this here, let me make this a little bit smaller. If I were to click on the hide grid lines button, you'd see all of the grid lines on the sheet disappears, and similarly show grid lines would add them back. Okay, so pretty simple snippet. I'm going to go on to one of the charts. So they demoed a trend line in the demo he just showed. So we have a couple different chart snippets here. I'm going to go into oops, sorry, I think I clicked on the wrong one. I'm going to go into chart series. And in here, there is that setup function that I mentioned. So I'm just going to collapse all of these again so that you can see. We have a bunch of different functions here, and they all take the same form. We have all the error handling code here, we have setup, and then all of the API surface area stuff that you want to experiment with. So inside of setup, we just add a sample sheet, we add a table, and then we add some data, and then we call create line chart. So create line chart just adds, it uses that sample data. It uses that sample data from the table, and then it adds a chart to the sheet. So let me go ahead and run that add sample data so you can see what it does. So here we see that the table's been added and the chart's been, I'm sorry about that. The chart's been added. I'm going to make it a little bigger so you can see better. Right. Now we have some extra functionality in here. If you want to add another series, we have the snippet here that tells you how to go. First, it gets the sample sheet. All of the snippets add a sample sheet. So this is that. Then it goes and it bases the new series on C2 to C7, and then it adds that to the existing chart. So if I were to go down and click on the Add Series button, we'll see another series gets added there. So similarly, we could delete a series or set a series value. We have many different chart examples, chart snippets inside the script lab. I want to jump over quickly to some of the events also that Sudhi mentioned, which is also new. Let's look at worksheet changed. All right. So similar setup. If we add sample data, it adds our data. What I want to show here is that we have both the registration of the event handler. So pretty simple code on this sample sheet. We want to add this on data change handler. And if I go down to on data change, it just writes something out to the console log. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the register button to first register the event handler. And now if I come in here and change 200, this is B3, we'll see in the console down here that B3 was changed. So I'm going to change this to 200. There we go. The event fired, and it said that the change address was at B3. Pretty simple. And if you could also change the data programmatically, so I believe B5 here will change. If we do that, and you'll see another event trigger here. All right, so B5 was changed. So the snippets are really granular. They're intended to show you very different, very small sections of the API, everything that we're releasing. So please go out, try these out, send us some feedback, what you like, what you don't like, maybe what's missing. We even have, if you need to demo to a customer or to various people in your organization, we have different things that could show the power of Excel here. And that's about it for Script Lab. So I just want to change gears a little bit and go over to our documentation. So that's the snippets. And now you want to probably go and read some documentation. So this is our Excel dev portal, developer.microsoft.com/Excel. It's in the deck that'll be shared out. If you come in here, you click on the Learn More button, and it tells you about both models, the add-in model and the Excel REST-based model. I'm going to go over to the Excel add-in documentation. Under here, we've written a bunch of new Excel content for you. We have quick starts, all of these quick starts. We have quick starts by framework. Each of these quick starts are intended to take 5 minutes for you to build your Excel add-in. Under core concepts, really those concepts that you have to understand to maybe build a basic Excel add-in, so working with charts, working with ranges, etc., and then various things about the API Office.js that you should know, things like Excel.run, load, proxy objects, and so forth. Advanced concepts as more complicated scenarios, and we are publishing some additional content on that soon, on event handling and so forth. So we'll be adding to this probably in December. I want to mention that all our documentation is open source. It's out there on GitHub. So at the top, if you click on this edit and GitHub link, you can go out here and you'll get the documentation. So if you see any thing that needs fixing, or you want to log an issue, maybe there's some documentation that's incorrect or a snippet that's incorrect, you could come here and log your issues, or maybe even make some changes to the documentation. And that's in github.com/officedev/office.js. I'm going to go back to the root here because I mentioned before we're working on all these preview APIs. So how do you keep up with, or how do you learn about all these preview APIs? If I go back to the root of Office.js docs and I switch the branch over to Excel.js OpenSpec, here's the OpenSpec branch is where we announce all of our preview APIs that's coming. And you can see here future Excel features. Under here we list all of the features that Sudhi just mentioned in the presentation. So this is where you could take a look at what's shipping next couple of months, and maybe make changes to your add-in, maybe experiment and so forth. And we really want to hear back from you. So please do send us the feedback on maybe the shape of the API, maybe you like it, maybe you don't like it, maybe something's missing. I want to mention that the way to if you are building Excel add-ins and you do get stuck, a good way to get in touch with us is on Stack Overflow. I'm going to go switch over to the slide here. So we are on Stack Overflow, and if you search for the Office-JS tag, my team is looking at that, and Sudhi's team, etc., is looking at that tag for all Excel add-in related questions, and also the Microsoft Graph tag for all Excel REST questions that you may have, and also user voice. So I'm going to switch back over to user voice. If you have feature requests that you'd like to bring to the attention of the team, go over to our user voice page and submit your idea. and the community will vote it up. Sudhi mentioned the get file async. Here we see that we actually completed that back in October, and we closed it out. So the team uses this data to plan the API surface area. So with that, I think I covered everything I needed to cover. Is there anything you wanted to mention, Sudhi?
Yeah, I think do we want to go into the next week's agenda briefly?
Yes.
Okay, let me share my slide back.
So to kind of pivot a little bit, while we're on topic of building productivity solutions, I want to talk a bit about Microsoft Graph. So the Graph is this all-encompassing API for Microsoft services, including the Excel REST APIs. Next week, we'll be having our first Microsoft Graph community call. And this will be a great opportunity to learn about what's new in the API and how you can leverage such capabilities for your own solutions. Each month, we'll do a technical deep dive into a specific Graph topic. This will range from looking into tooling like SDKs to API use cases such as scripting and workflow automation, combining Graph with other technologies. And we'll also walk through some of what partners are doing with the Graph and some of the practical use cases people are using Graph for. This month, the technical deep dive will be focusing on Python and the Microsoft Graph. Doug Mayhew from the documentation team will go into a couple different Python scenarios and some cool new tools that we'll have available. And at the end of each call, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions. We'll have a community Q&A. And this is really well suited to two questions that are both conceptual as well as practical. You can submit your questions today by going to the link on the slide. They'll give you a calendar link, and in the calendar link, there'll be a link to the Microsoft form with the ability to submit questions. And I hope to see you on December 5th. Thank you.